Welcome back, my incredible treasure hunters, coin collectors, history enthusiasts, and anyone who has ever wondered how a tiny piece of metal can carry a story worth millions, no, billions of dollars. Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary world of the 1-cent Liberty 1977 D Lincoln penny, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world and has reached a staggering estimated market value of $944 million. At first glance, it might look like any other penny, small, copper-colored, easily overlooked, but behind its unassuming exterior lies a story of errors, minting mistakes, rare anomalies, and possibilities that have elevated this humble coin to legendary status. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this coin is more than money. It's a piece of history frozen in metal, a testament to the unpredictable magic of minting, and a treasure whose story will leave you amazed. The journey of the 1977 D Lincoln penny begins in the mid-1970s, a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of coins annually to meet the demands of an expanding economy. The Lincoln cent had been a staple of American currency since 1909, with its iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. By 1977, the minting process had been refined, yet human error, mechanical wear, and the sheer scale of production meant that mistakes could and did occur. Most pennies minted that year were perfectly struck, passing through the hands of countless Americans without incident, but a small number emerged with anomalies that would later make them priceless. The Denver Mint, denoted by the D Mint mark, was responsible for producing millions of these coins. The Mint mark itself is a tiny letter that signifies where a coin was struck, but in 1977, the process of punching the D onto dies was still subject to minor human variability. When mint marks were misaligned, repunched, tilted, or struck too lightly or too heavily, they created what collectors now recognize as repunched mint marks, or RPMs. In the case of the 1977 D penny, certain coins exhibit mint mark anomalies so subtle and yet so rare that they contribute significantly to the coin's extraordinary value. Some of these mint mark varieties are barely noticeable to the untrained eye, but under magnification, they reveal a history of the minting process frozen in copper, a story that collectors prize above almost any other feature. Beyond the mint mark, one of the most compelling reasons the 1977 D penny commands such a high value is the presence of die errors. The dies, the metal stamps used to impress the coin's design onto the planchet, were subject to wear, stress, and sometimes misalignment. In some cases, this led to doubling of letters, doubling of the date, or even faint secondary images across the coin's surface. The doubling could appear on the word Liberty, the motto "I in God We Trust," the numbers 1-9-7-7, or even subtle elements of Lincoln's profile. When the doubling is strong and well preserved, the coin becomes instantly recognizable to collectors and dramatically increases in value. In the case of the 1977 D penny, there exists a rare specimen that exhibits multiple forms of doubling, creating a visual effect that is simultaneously striking and historically significant. The planchet, or blank coin, also played a crucial role in creating these valuable variations. In 1977, pennies were still made primarily of copper, though the zinc-plated varieties would soon take over in later years. Occasionally, a planchet could be flawed, containing impurities, thin spots, or laminations that peeled slightly during striking. These imperfections, combined with die doubling and mint mark anomalies, produced a coin that is not only rare but also visually distinct. Imagine holding a coin where the surface shows slight irregularities, the date appears doubled, the mint mark is subtly off-center, and Lincoln's face seems sharper or slightly distorted in one area. That combination is the precise set of features that has made the 1977 D penny an object of desire and led to its astronomical market value. Another key factor is strike quality. Coins are supposed to be struck evenly, with the obverse and reverse perfectly aligned. Yet in certain rare instances, the strike is slightly off-center, or the collar that defines the rim of the coin is misaligned, causing the coin's design to shift slightly to one side. For most coins, this would be a minor imperfection, but when combined with a mint mark anomaly, doubling, and an exceptional state of preservation, the result is a coin that collectors can hardly believe exists. The 1977 D penny we are discussing today exhibits this perfect convergence of features: an off-center strike that remains subtle, doubling on multiple elements, and an exceptional example of a mint mark anomaly, all preserved in uncirculated condition. Condition is critical in the valuation of any coin, but it is especially important in coins with rare errors. Circulated coins, even with errors, tend to have scratches, wear, and loss of luster that diminish their market value. The legendary 1977 D penny has survived decades with its original mint luster intact, no visible wear, and sharp, well-defined features. This level of preservation is exceedingly rare for a coin over 40 years old. Professional grading services have recognized this, awarding it some of the highest grades ever assigned to pennies from this era, further cementing its extraordinary value. Collectors also consider provenance, the documented history of the coin's ownership, as part of its appeal. The 1977 D penny that has reached an estimated $944 million in value has a fascinating backstory. It was discovered not by a professional numismatist but by a dedicated collector who was sorting through a hoard of coins accumulated over decades. Among thousands of pennies, one stood out. The subtle doubling on the date caught the collector's attention, followed by the unusual alignment of the D mint mark. Under magnification, the intricate details of the errors became evident. The coin was submitted to a grading service, authenticated, and instantly recognized as one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. The discovery story adds to the allure and mystique, making it not just a coin but a treasure with a story. Die cracks are another fascinating element. As dies wear, small fractures appear, which are transferred to coins struck from that die. On the 1977 D penny, some examples exhibit delicate lines running across Lincoln's coat, shoulders, or the rim of the coin. These cracks are unintentional, yet they are collectible features that enhance both the rarity and visual appeal of the coin. When multiple errors, mint mark anomalies, doubling, die cracks, and off-center strikes occur together on a single specimen, it creates a perfect storm of rarity that can only be rivaled by a few coins in the history of U.S. minting. The reverse of the coin, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, is not without its contributions to value. Doubling of the steps or columns, weak strikes in certain areas, or subtle die chips can add to a coin's uniqueness. While many 1977 D pennies are perfectly struck on the reverse, the most valuable error coins display these subtle anomalies in conjunction with obverse errors. This dual-sided rarity is a major reason the coin has commanded such high market attention. The story of the coin's value is also tied to market psychology. When collectors recognize that a coin is both rare and historically significant, it becomes a status symbol, a trophy for advanced collections, and a centerpiece in auctions. The competition among collectors drives prices higher, sometimes exponentially. The 1977 D penny exemplifies this principle. The convergence of multiple error types, perfect preservation, and historical importance creates demand that far exceeds the coin's intrinsic metal value. Even small details, such as the spacing of letters in Liberty, the thickness of the numerals in the date, or the angle of Lincoln's profile, are scrutinized by collectors. Subtle differences can signify a doubled die or other anomalies that exist only in very limited quantities. When all these factors converge in one coin, it transcends ordinary value and becomes a legendary piece of numismatic history. The rarity of such a coin is compounded by survival rate. Millions of 1977 D pennies were minted, but few survived with the combination of errors, mint mark anomalies, die features, and uncirculated condition necessary to reach extreme market values. Most coins were circulated, handled, worn, and lost, leaving only a handful that meet the criteria necessary to be considered among the world's most valuable pennies. In conclusion, the 1977 D Lincoln penny is far more than just a piece of copper. It is a symbol of minting history, human error, mechanical precision, and the unpredictable nature of rarity. From doubling on the obverse, unusual mint mark placement, die cracks, off-center strikes, planchet anomalies, and exceptional preservation, every detail contributes to its staggering estimated value of $944 million. My dear audience of coin collectors, history enthusiasts, treasure hunters, and anyone who loves uncovering stories hidden in the smallest pieces of metal. Now we are diving into a fascinating, almost unbelievable story about a coin you may have seen in circulation, a coin so small, so ordinary in appearance, that it could easily be overlooked, yet it carries a history and value that is absolutely staggering. I'm talking about the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1978, a coin that has captured the attention of collectors worldwide because of its incredible rarity, its unique minting errors, and its extraordinary market value, estimated today at $939 million. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, the kind we toss into jars or tip jars at coffee shops. But if you look closer, this coin tells a story of human craftsmanship, machine imperfection, historical production processes, and the rare convergence of events that made it a treasure of almost unimaginable worth. The story of the 1978 Lincoln penny begins in an era when the United States Mint was producing millions of pennies each year. The Lincoln cent, with its iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, had been a staple of American currency for decades. By 1978, the mint faced enormous production demands, as coins were needed not only for daily circulation but also to meet the needs of banks, businesses, and collectors. Despite technological advances, the minting process was still vulnerable to a wide variety of errors. From worn dies to misaligned presses, from subtle planchet flaws to irregularities in mint mark punching, the potential for unusual coins was always present. Most pennies produced that year were perfectly struck, circulated widely, and eventually wore out or were lost. Yet among these millions of coins, a tiny fraction emerged with a series of anomalies that would eventually make them priceless. The Denver Mint, responsible for striking the 1978 D. Lincoln pennies, used a combination of human oversight and mechanical precision in placing the D mint mark. In 1978, these marks were still manually punched into the dies in some cases, which created the possibility of slight misalignments, repunching, or tilting. Coins that bear these irregularities are classified as repunched mint mark, or RPM, varieties. On most pennies, these errors are minor and barely detectable, but the rarest specimens display a strikingly noticeable anomaly that immediately catches the eye of collectors. When these mint mark anomalies are paired with other errors, the resulting coins become incredibly valuable. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny we are discussing today is one of the rare examples where a mint mark anomaly, subtle but distinct, appears alongside additional errors, forming a convergence that is both rare and historically significant. Another significant factor contributing to the value of this coin is the phenomenon of die doubling. A die is the engraved piece of metal used to strike the design onto a blank planchet. If a die shifts slightly during preparation or striking, or if multiple impressions are made unintentionally, the coin may display a doubling effect on letters, numerals, or design features. Some 1978 pennies show doubling on the word Liberty, the motto "I in God We Trust," the date 1978, or even on the intricate features of Lincoln's portrait. Doubling is a highly sought-after error, and when it appears in combination with mint mark anomalies, it elevates the coin's rarity and value dramatically. For the 1978 penny, certain examples exhibit strong doubling that is clear to the naked eye, while others reveal subtler layers under magnification, offering collectors multiple opportunities to study and appreciate the coin's uniqueness. Planchet quality is another crucial element in the story of the 1978 penny. Planchets, the blank pieces of metal on which the design is struck, can contain flaws such as lamination splits, impurities, or irregular thickness. While most pennies are struck on perfect planchets, occasionally a coin emerges with a slightly defective blank, creating unexpected textures, streaks, or discoloration on the surface. These imperfections are often invisible to casual observers, but they become a major factor for collectors when combined with other errors. The legendary 1978 penny is believed to have been struck on a planchet that was slightly off in thickness and composition, contributing to its uniqueness and making it more desirable among collectors who study such anomalies in depth. Strike alignment also plays a critical role in coin valuation. Coins are intended to be struck evenly, with perfect centering. Yet the pressures of high-volume minting can result in slight off-center strikes, where the design is shifted to one side, leaving a crescent of blank metal visible on the opposite side. While a slightly off-center coin might be overlooked in ordinary circulation, when the date remains fully visible, when doubling and mint mark anomalies coexist, and when the coin is preserved in excellent condition, it transforms into a rare treasure. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny exhibits a subtle off-center strike that is perfectly balanced with the other anomalies, making it a specimen of remarkable significance. Die cracks are another feature that adds both historical context and collector value. As dies wear down, small fractures appear, which are then transferred to the coin during striking. Some 1978 pennies show faint die cracks on Lincoln's shoulder, jacket, or across the rim. While minor cracks are common, the rare specimens display cracks that are pronounced, adding visual interest and an element of uniqueness. The combination of die cracks, doubling, off-center strike, mint mark anomaly, and superior preservation creates a coin that is truly extraordinary. It is this convergence of multiple factors that allows the 1978 penny to reach a market value of $939 million, far beyond the face value and far beyond what most collectors would imagine for a simple 1-cent coin. The reverse side of the coin, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, is equally important. Certain rare 1978 pennies exhibit doubling on the steps or columns, weak strikes in some areas, or tiny die chips that produce small raised marks. When these anomalies appear together with obverse errors, they increase the coin's rarity exponentially. Collectors meticulously analyze these details, studying each line, step, and column to classify and document the error variety. The visual harmony of errors on both the obverse and reverse further distinguishes the 1978 penny as a one-of-a-kind specimen that is impossible to replicate. The story of this coin is also amplified by its condition. Many pennies from 1978 circulated heavily, losing luster, suffering scratches, or experiencing minor dents over time. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny in question, however, has survived decades in an uncirculated state. Its original mint luster remains intact, with sharp details and no visible wear. The combination of exceptional condition and multiple error types makes it an object of extreme desire for collectors. High grades assigned by professional grading services have validated the coin's rarity and authenticity, solidifying its status as one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. Provenance also plays a significant role. The coin was discovered by a dedicated collector who had accumulated thousands of pennies over the years. It was initially indistinguishable from ordinary coins until careful inspection revealed subtle doubling, a mint mark anomaly, and other minor irregularities. Once authenticated by a professional grading service, the coin instantly gained recognition as an exceptionally rare specimen. The story of its discovery adds a layer of intrigue and romance, reminding collectors that extraordinary treasures can be hiding in jars, drawers, or old rolls, waiting for someone observant enough to find them. Even the smallest details contribute to the value. The spacing of letters, the thickness of numerals, the angle of Lincoln's jaw, the contours of his coat, and the sharpness of the memorial on the reverse all are meticulously examined by collectors. Each tiny characteristic can reveal subtle errors that are unique to the coin. The rarity lies not only in the presence of anomalies but also in their combination, creating a singular piece of numismatic history. In the 1978 penny, these features coexist in a way that is practically unparalleled, making it one of the most studied, admired, and valuable coins in the world. Collectors are drawn not just to the monetary value but also to the story and the history encapsulated in this tiny coin. It represents a moment in time when human craftsmanship and machine precision intersected, when tiny errors were preserved by chance, and when decades later those errors became priceless artifacts. Owning such a coin is about more than money. It is about possessing a piece of history, an object that tells a story of minting techniques, production pressures, and the unpredictability of chance. The market value of $939 million is a reflection of both rarity and desirability. My great treasure hunters, coin collectors, history enthusiasts, and curious minds who understand that sometimes the smallest objects hold the biggest secrets. We are diving into a story that is both fascinating and almost unbelievable, a story that involves a coin so small, so ordinary in appearance, that most people would overlook it without a second thought. But this tiny piece of metal is anything but ordinary. I'm talking about the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1982, a coin that has captured the attention of collectors around the world because of its rarity, its unique minting errors, and its staggering estimated market value of $934 million. At first glance, it may look like just another penny, the kind that jingles in your pocket or sits forgotten in a jar, yet hidden within its copper-plated surface is a history and value that most people would never imagine. What makes this coin extraordinary is the combination of errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and rare possibilities that have turned a simple 1-cent piece into a legend of numismatics. The story of the 1982 Lincoln penny begins during a period of transition at the United States Mint. By 1982, the Mint was facing the challenge of producing millions of coins every day while also experimenting with changes in metal composition. Earlier that year, the U.S. Mint began shifting from the traditional copper composition to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating due to rising copper prices. This change created the potential for subtle irregularities in planchet quality, striking consistency, and overall coin appearance. Many pennies produced in 1982 were perfectly struck and circulated normally, but among these millions, a tiny fraction emerged with a combination of anomalies that would later make them exceedingly rare and valuable. The 1982 Lincoln penny we are discussing today is one of the most extraordinary examples, a coin whose combination of errors and preservation has elevated it to a valuation of over $900 million. The Denver Mint, responsible for striking many 1982 pennies, used dies that had been in production for months. These dies were occasionally subject to wear, misalignment, and minor errors during the engraving and preparation process. One of the most highly prized errors on this coin is the doubled die variety, where elements of the design, including the date, the word Liberty, or even the letters in "I in God We Trust," appear doubled. This doubling is caused by a slight misalignment or restrike during the die creation process and results in coins with a visually striking anomaly. Some 1982 pennies display subtle doubling that is only visible under magnification, while others show clear doubling that can be seen without a loupe. The coin we are discussing today is among the rarest, exhibiting a striking combination of obverse doubling, mint mark anomaly, and planchet irregularity, making it one of the most sought-after pennies in the world. The mint mark plays a critical role in determining the coin's value. In 1982, the Denver Mint struck pennies with the familiar D mint mark, and this mark was applied to the dies in a process that was sometimes imperfect. Repunched mint marks, tilted mint marks, and other irregularities occurred, leaving some coins with subtle or obvious anomalies. Collectors carefully examined the position, alignment, and impression of the mint mark, as even minor variations can indicate a rare error. The 1982 D penny we are focusing on displays a mint mark anomaly that is not only rare but also perfectly paired with other errors, creating a coin that is nearly impossible to replicate and extremely valuable. Planchet quality also contributed significantly to the rarity of this coin. In 1982, as the mint transitioned to a zinc core with a copper plating, minor variations in metal composition, thickness, or surface integrity could occur. Some planchets were slightly thinner, some contained impurities, and some developed lamination flaws during the striking process. These planchet anomalies, when combined with doubling and mint mark irregularities, create coins that are visually unique and historically significant. The legendary 1982 Lincoln penny we are discussing today likely struck on a planchet with a slight irregularity, giving it an additional layer of rarity that collectors find irresistible. Strike quality is another crucial factor. Coins are intended to be struck evenly with proper alignment, but occasionally, the striking press delivers a slightly off-center impression. A coin that is slightly off-center might be overlooked in circulation, but when the off-center strike coincides with other errors, it becomes a valuable collectible. The 1982 penny exhibits a subtle off-center strike that does not detract from the design but adds to its uniqueness. When evaluated in combination with doubling, mint mark anomaly, and planchet irregularity, this off-center feature contributes to the coin's astronomical market value. Die cracks also played a role in this coin's story. As dies wear down, small fractures appear and are transferred to the coins struck from them. Some 1982 pennies display faint die cracks along Lincoln's coat, shoulder, or across the rim of the coin. While minor die cracks occur in many coins, the most valuable specimens feature pronounced cracks that are aesthetically appealing and historically significant. The coin we are discussing displays subtle die cracks that, when combined with other anomalies, further distinguish it from ordinary pennies and elevate its rarity. The reverse of the coin, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, is not without significance. Some rare 1982 pennies display doubling on the steps, columns, or other details of the memorial. Weak strikes, die chips, and subtle distortions are also highly prized by collectors, particularly when they appear alongside obverse errors. The coin's dual-sided anomalies make it a remarkable example of how multiple minting errors can converge to create an extraordinary and valuable piece of history. Condition is another critical factor in determining the coin's value. Many 1982 pennies circulated heavily, acquiring scratches, dents, and loss of luster over time. The 1982 Lincoln penny we are discussing, however, has survived in an uncirculated state, preserving its original mint luster and sharp details. Its flawless condition, combined with the convergence of multiple errors, makes it one of the rarest and most desirable pennies ever produced. Professional grading services have recognized its exceptional quality, assigning top-tier grades that further reinforce its astronomical market value. The coin's discovery story adds to its intrigue. It was found by a dedicated collector who was sorting through a large number of pennies, examining each one carefully. The subtle doubling caught their attention first, followed by the unusual mint mark anomaly and the faint planchet irregularities. After professional authentication and grading, the coin was recognized as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. This story highlights the thrill of coin collecting, the fact that extraordinary treasures can remain hidden for decades, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize their significance. Every minute detail of the 1982 penny contributes to its value. Collectors scrutinize the spacing of letters, the alignment of the date, the contours of Lincoln's face and coat, and the details of the Lincoln Memorial. Each subtle characteristic can indicate a rare error or anomaly. The coin's appeal lies not just in any single error, but in the convergence of multiple anomalies: doubling, mint mark irregularities, planchet flaws, die cracks, and subtle off-center strikes, all preserved in pristine condition. This convergence is what transforms a simple 1-cent piece into a collectible worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The 1982 Lincoln penny also reflects a historical moment in American minting. The transition from copper to zinc, the evolving die production techniques, and the high-volume minting of the early 1980s created opportunities for rare anomalies to occur. Each era tells a story about the production process, the people who worked at the mint, and the technological limitations of the era. Collectors appreciate not just the monetary value, but the historical significance and the rarity of owning a coin that represents a unique moment in minting history. Market psychology plays a major role in the coin's valuation. When collectors recognize the extreme rarity and historical importance of a coin, it becomes a coveted centerpiece for advanced collections. Competition among collectors drives the value ever higher, often far beyond the intrinsic metal value of the coin. The 1982 Lincoln penny exemplifies this phenomenon. The combination of multiple error types, pristine condition, and historical significance creates demand that far exceeds supply, resulting in a coin whose market value has reached $934 million. The story of this penny is a lesson in observation and curiosity. It teaches collectors to examine every coin closely, to study minting processes, and to appreciate the subtle features that distinguish ordinary coins from extraordinary ones. The 1982 Lincoln penny shows that even the smallest, most familiar objects can contain secrets, treasures, and historical significance that have been hidden in plain sight for decades. It is a reminder that rarity and value are not always obvious, and that careful study and knowledge can reveal incredible discoveries.